Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor of the Tenkar's Tavern blog. So, at the bottom of the screen, there's a GoFundMe for Ben Shields. That's the son of James Shields, the artist, writer that you may know from the OSR. Amazing work. James is a very sweet individual in the OSR. His son Ben committed suicide on December 31st. So there's a GoFundMe. It's linked at the bottom of the screen. If you can, please give. It's going to help with the funeral expenses. And there's also another number there. It's the suicide hotline. If you're in the U.S., if you're in the States, the number is 988. There's no shame in calling. There's no shame in needing help. And if you're having those thoughts, if you're having thoughts of self-harm, speak to somebody. Clergy, family, friends, 988, please. So, getting on to today's topic, Ben Riggs. Now, you might know Ben Riggs because he's a historian of gaming. And he made a very large Facebook post. I am not going to have you read the whole thing here, but his thesis, if you want, and many have responded to this. Mike Merle, Shannon Applecline, James Lauder, and others. Um, that Ben Riggs says the golden age of tabletop RPGs is dead. We are watching a bright and special time in the tabletop RPG industry pass away before our eyes. And around the start of the 2010s, we saw the dawn of a new golden age of tabletop role playing games. Since then, huge numbers of players have been found the hobby thanks to Stranger Things and actual plays like Critical Role. And he goes on, talks about the OSR, which is fine, great. I think you should talk about the OSR. And Call of Cthulhu and these other games that, I don't know, existed before. They were part of the prior Golden Age. Oh, how many Golden Ages are there? Now, I'm going to step away from this for a second. When we talk about the Golden Age of comics, right, this is stuff from the late 30s, the 40s, I don't know, maybe the early 50s. We're talking about the Flash that wore a helmet, right? Green Lantern whose powers didn't work against wood. Oh wait, we don't remember Alan Scott, right? This isn't stuff that anybody watching any of these movies these days would care about. Oh, that's right. Comics transitioned from being comic books to being movies, on demand TV shows. That is the change that we are seeing for the big titles. But there are still independent comic books being produced. There are still people making comic books, right? So, yes, the golden age at some point is going to pass on to a silver age or a bronze age. That's what they've called different generations of comic books. But the reality is that the transition that we're seeing now, and it's a transition, is a transition that WotC wants to go through to make greater profits. And they don't care if it shrinks the RPG player base overall, so long as their profits, even if it's a smaller base they're working off of, increases. Therefore, they're looking to put their eggs, get their golden goose, and make sure that golden goose has subscriptions and digital media and you can subscription and microtransactions. Oh my god, this is just that's what they're looking for to monetize the player. Times change, and big companies chase the dollar. Well, all companies chase the dollar, but when WotC retreats from the tabletop RPG field and transitions to their virtual tabletop, and like I said, subscriptions, microtransactions, and monetizing that player base, because remember, DMs spend the money players are undermonetized. We learned about that about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. They showed their cards. There is nothing going on here that we don't know. Now, whether uh, the I don't know 5e 2024, D&D Forever is compatible with 5e, in my opinion, is irrelevant. I think it's going to be compatible enough. It's going to be more compatible than Pathfinder 2 was with Pathfinder 1, because they already saw how that didn't help Paizo out at all. And they were very happy to let another company take the lead on that one. But they don't want to repeat of what happened when they went from 3rd edition, 3X, to 4E. All right. They know that they have too much out there, these products that need to be relatively compatible. But they are spewing the same shit, I will say it, that they were spewing when Monty Cook was the lead designer for D&D Next, which is, you can bring your 0th edition character with your 1st edition character and your 2nd edition character, your basic edition character and your 4th edition character and your 3X character, and put them all together at the same table and they can all play. That never happened. Will you be able to play with your 5e 2014 characters at a game with 5e 2024 characters? And that's going to be, I'm not going to call it 6e. It's not going to be 6e, but can you take? Yes, you can. The engine is not changing, but the power curve is changing. All right, we've heard that from a lot of the playtests. So you wouldn't want to bring your characters from 2014 to the 2024 rule set without making adjustments. But yeah, it's going to be the same. It's going to be a comfortable rule set if you played it, right? But it's not going to be compatible where your characters aren't going to need to be changed to conform to the new rules. They're up in the power curve. You'd be underpowered. That means, though, that you could still play the old adventures, which is fine because you're not supposed to die in 5e anyway, and the old adventures would just be a little bit easier. Win-win, according to WotC. So how is this going to affect this end of the golden age with WotC retreating to a large extent from the tabletop RPG field? I think, personally, we're going to see some companies step up. There's going to be a seismic shift, and I would guesstimate that the number of tabletop role players is going to recede. It's going to shrink. Do I think that the OSR is going to lose players? No, I think the OSR is going to gain players. Do I think that Pathfinder 2 is going to lose players because of 5e retreating from the tabletop field? No, they're going to gain. But overall, 5e, in whatever form it's going to be, is going to lose players because of the changes. And they're going to go elsewhere, or they're going to stop playing. So 5e will be less influential. Not a bad thing. All right? Not a horrible thing for people who in general, even 5e players are like, oh, fuck WotC. All right? But those that transition to the new rule set are also going to be more likely to transition to the WotC VTT. I've said it before. It's a closed environment. It's their own walled garden. They're going to have their own, I don't know, DM's guild. It's either going to be within that or there's going to be a new version of it that runs concurrently. But they want anybody who's in their VTT to stay in their VTT. And they want those people to see D&D as the only RPG, which is fine. But the people that are already playing other games aren't going to suddenly stop playing other games because Wizards is taking their ball and going to a different playfield. Will it affect third-party publishers of 5e material? Definitely. Because we saw that with the new OGL. But to say the industry is going to watch a special time pass away, there's going to be rebirths. Certain publishers are suddenly going to be much more popular. I predict a huge interest in Call of Cthulhu, maybe even RuneQuest, for players that are dissatisfied with 5e Forever. I don't know if that's what they're going to call it, but to me that sounds like it. Ben kept on saying 6e because he didn't want to say the game formerly known as 5e or whatever. D&D Forever, right? Because they are saying that these are the rules. They're not changing the engine, folks. They're changing the trim. They're tweaking the engine up a little bit. It's going to go a little bit faster, a little bit louder, a little bit cooler. It's going to be what all the kids want to play, and they're going to want to play it on the VTT. Again, from Wizards, if Wizards lost half their player base and brought in 30% more money than they're making now because they converted all their players into money machines, then they see it as a win. They don't count it by the number of players. They count it by the money they bring in. So I think Ben is right. There's going to be a change, and it's going to be seismic. But I don't think it's going to affect third-party publishers of RPG systems like Kobold and Paizo. No, they're gonna see a bump from this, but it's going to be a change. All right, folks, I'm going to try to leave a link to the Facebook thread of Ben's. It's interesting reading, but there's a lot of misconceptions. He argues it well, but I think there are some assumptions he makes that are wrong. Might be. We all have one, right? Oh no, it's assumptions we all have. Oh, we all have opinions too. Folks, on that note, tomorrow night there should hopefully be a live stream. Just saying hopefully. Myself, Glenn Hallstrom, if there is, it's going to be OSR Christmas, day 11. We're going to do some giveaways. Always fun. And then another live stream on Saturday, my wife and I, for Gamers Health. Again, 8 p.m. Eastern. All right, folks, on that note, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well. I'll be back again tomorrow, one way or the other. Later, folks.